Hello, and welcome to St. Joe's Reflection for the sixth Sunday in the Easter season. The readings today invite us to reflect upon the meaning of a life shared with God and with one another in our faith community. Well, the core element of that communal life is God's own love as expressed in the Trinity. There are times when tensions arising within our human community make Jesus' farewell gift of peace seem to give way to disharmony and discord. In the Acts of the Apostles, Luke describes a controversy that arose in the early church concerning the observance of the Mosaic law. As the early community of believers sought to find their own identity, and especially as the non-Jewish converts were accepted into its ranks, it was probably inevitable and only natural that the question should arise, just how much of the Jewish law should the Gentile converts to Christianity be expected to observe? In particular, should these new converts have to submit to circumcision and to the elaborate dietary rules governing Jews in order to be Christians? The leaders of the Jewish community came to the conclusion that harmony within community had to be the primary focal point, that only those laws which affected the sharing of meals and the unity of life within marriage were relative to the non-Jewish Christians. The crisis forced the community into a deeper reflection on what it believed. Salvation comes not through the observance of the law, but through faith in Christ. Meanwhile, the gospel passage for today's liturgy reflects upon the abiding presence of God within the community. Those who are true to Jesus' word will discover the divine presence dwelling in their midst, helping and guiding them to understand all that Jesus had previously said and did. What Jesus reveals, the Spirit will teach. Teaching implies greater comprehension and a more thorough integration. For the early church, the revelation of Jesus naturally evolves into the teaching of the Spirit as they dealt with the concerns for harmony in a faith community growing rapidly beyond Jerusalem. More importantly for us, they realized that in doing so, the Spirit did not reproduce or tie them to Jesus' exact words. Instead, the Spirit would constantly orientate them in the direction in which Jesus had led them, toward a union of heart and mind with God and one another. Today, we rejoice to hear those reassuring words of Jesus. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give it to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. When Jesus leaves his disciples peace, he is leaving them both the revelation of the non-abandoning love of God and the task of restoring peace on a worn, torn earth. It should be noted that these two dimensions of peace are intimately related. As the Beatitude says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." This is the peace that arises from the very presence of God in our midst. This is the peace that enabled the community at Jerusalem to discover ways for reaching harmony within its widening diversity of backgrounds. This is the peace that is still very much alive and active within our own community here and now today. Our coming together is a miracle of grace. We represent diverse views and needs and interests, yet we can be one community. Differences of opinions among us are inevitable, and as natural as they were for the early community. Yet, the presence of God enables us to reconcile our differences and accept each other in love. In a rapidly changing world, where there is a great polarization of ideas, opinions, may the divine present in our midst help us to experience the oneness and unity God has created in ways that make our community a place for dialogue, understanding, and respect. Take care.